Is Burlison really starting to come around more that the non-human element of this thing is real? The reason I say that is because, I don't know, 3 years ago, whenever this was, when Burlison would speak about the topic of UAP and non-human, he said, well, I haven't really seen anything to make me feel like there's anything non-human. I think there's something going on out there. I think that there is something in the skies that we're not talking about. I think there's a lot of cover-up, and he's been pretty adamant about trying to follow what the cover-up could be. He sat next to Eric Davis, who said there were different species of aliens. He's talked to people, Virginia, and talked to James Fox and other people and other reports of people who have said these particular things. He's been there to hear all these reports. He still said the same thing. I don't necessarily know if it's anything that I've seen that makes me think it's anything other than that it's anything unworldly or non-human. But I always felt like he was saying that because he didn't want people to, because the stigma was always there, and he didn't want, because if he was up for re-election or other things, he didn't want people out there seeing him say that he believed in non-human stuff and all that, yada, 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 yada. That was my thoughts on it. Is he starting to come around a little bit more to it? Has he been hearing enough things that maybe he starts to say, wait a minute, maybe there's something more to it? All right, so I want to play this clip. This is him talking to Ross Coulthart, and about what he thinks would happen if this legacy program and UAP retrieval and all that, and if it was deemed to be true about the non-humans. Check it out.
We're on the cusp of perhaps uncovering the biggest secret in human history, if this is true.
It would be. I mean, to me, it would be the greatest revelation since Jesus Christ, since the birth of God.
Now, seeing you've mentioned God, you're a man of faith.
Yeah.
I think you're a Protestant.
Yes.
You go to church regularly. Can I ask you, are you in any way confronted by the possibility, the ontological shock that might be born? Christians are meant to be so vulnerable that the discovery of a non-human intelligence would apparently shatter the worldview. What do you say to that?
I think that to people who would have their worldview shattered probably haven't read the Bible enough. To me, the more that you read the Bible, you come to the conclusion that God has created a vast universe that's much bigger than the one that the little planet that we occupy. That's
essentially the answer from Disclosure Day, right? When they brought up this conversation of would religions be challenged if the idea of non-human intelligence was brought up, and they asked a woman of faith, and she essentially said that. She said no, because they said that this is what he created here. Didn't say in all of the galaxy and all the universe. Now, the other side of that is I'm still not convinced that we originated here. We could have. We could have been put here. Who knows? There's a lot of different theories. There's a lot of different things. But the idea, the religious side of it, it is still, I don't think it's as simple to Burlison's answer, though. Because, yes, in one aspect, if it is indeed otherworldly, other things, there's a way to say, yeah, when you read the Bible, you say this, you say that. But if there are things, like, let's say what I just said, turns out to be true, we find that out, that, let's say, this is not necessarily what I believe, this is one of the theories that were out there too, is that we were created by these things and placed here by these things. And let's say that turns out to be factual, and within announcements and disclosure, that is revealed. That would question people's faith. People would start to question their faith on that. Because if the answer was that we were created by something else and placed here, that would change. Now, again, if the turns out that the universe is vast, these things are coming from different places, times, whatever it might be, they absolutely could have that argument, and people of faith saying God created things everywhere and other than, and this is supposed to happen. it doesn't necessarily change faith. I'm just saying it's just not as cut and dry as saying it won't. But doesn't mean that you shouldn't bring up, the conversation. Now, the other thing that he said, will it be as big of news to say Jesus Christ or anything else? Yeah, of course. If our existence every day is what we know it is, and even the most heinous shit that happens on our planet, like the most despicable shit, it's stuff that you go, I can't believe humans are capable of it. But it's not something that you go, well, that's something that you know people are capable of it, even though you don't want to believe that they're capable of it. You've read a story about it before, you've heard about it before, and whatever it might be, whether it be someone getting killed, someone getting kidnapped, whatever, the war, the same shit that we hear, things that are just, things that have been here before. We're used to it. It doesn't mean that, again, we're pained. We are we can get happy about certain things and things that excite us, but this story about the existence of something outside of what we know all of the time is the biggest story ever of all time. Because even if it is a matter of finding out why we're here, and it just, I just never understand how every bit of this, I think it should be the thing that's covered all the time, every single day. I shouldn't be the one doing a video every day on this, and I know there are other YouTubers and people doing that. I'm saying the YouTubers and bloggers shouldn't be the ones that are putting out the news, and you shouldn't be finding out the news and stories like this from me. You should be finding it out from the mainstream media. And I've said this many times over, blue in the face type stuff. But it doesn't stop here, because there's more stories where, now, Burlison's one guy who's front and center of this a lot, but Burchett is another one. And so he's been talking a lot more on there. People have been having him more. Speaking of the mainstream media, they've been having him more on shows. And this is what he said.
In the skiff, this one time where they asked me where you're quoting, I mean, there was some pretty intense stuff about life forms, what they were doing, and different. And
life forms alive here? Life forms dead here?
Possibly both. And I,
the vehicles that have been recovered here?
Yeah, and some that have possibly come here and not in a crash type setting.
See, this is the kind of stuff that more mainstream shows should be covering. I think Hannity's one of those people that have, like, I think there's a clip where he's starting to believe it more. That's why he's covering it more. I don't know, but either way, I wish all sides of the media would be covering it like this, having more people out there and getting this more information out, because this is a story all in itself, right? The fact that here's a guy who's been briefed on these things, and this is why I also wish, and he said this recently again, even when freaking Cuomo was covering about Grush, and Burchett does the thing again with the little green men. That's not about little green men. What the fuck are you talking about? You just said that there was non-human things that were alive and dead that were here before, and potential things that have been here before and recovered and not recovered in crashes. Stop with the little green men thing. Take it out of your notes. Talk about the fact that it is more about, I'm with you, man, on finding out, getting to the bottom line of where this money's been spent and where it's gone and how these programs have been covering this up. But dive more into the stuff that you've heard. And that's what you've been doing there. You heard this stuff. You're having more conversations about it. And, we got to find out more. So what's going to go on with Lou Elizondo? He just kind of sat there. He didn't really say anything in that particular clip. But there's a lot. I don't know what you guys think about this. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Please let me know. Would this be the biggest story in human history? We know it should be. Or will it be something? Or are we so desanitized to to stuff like this, to where it's like, I don't really care. Yeah, great aliens here. I'm going to watch Love Island. I don't know. What do you guys think? Put your thoughts in there. Let me know. Make sure you click like, comment, subscribe. Do all that and more. We'll be back here tomorrow.